How's it going, folks? I'm Matthew. This is Lemora's Cards, and today we're taking a look at some big tournaments that happened this past weekend. We had a good bit on the official release week, I guess, of Final Fantasy. 7 events with more than 50 players. Lots of stuff. Way too much for me to go over. Our biggest event at 122 players, and then we got a bunch closer to the 60 mark, up to like 80. We're going to be taking a look at some of the decks that stood out, especially from newer commanders from Final Fantasy. A couple of those that people are pretty excited about. You know, your Vivis, your Kefkas getting a lot of attention, stuff like that. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below which of these deck lists was your favorite. Can't go over everything here. There's like a million decks. Just gonna be taking a look at a couple, trying to run through them pretty quick, go over some of the standout cards, what some of these new commanders are doing, things like that. Try to figure it out as we go. You know how it is. On July 20th, New Jersey cEDH presents Sinkhole, a gold event with cash prizes in Randolph, New Jersey. Celebrating the growth of the New Jersey cEDH community, this proxy-friendly 64-player event is one you won't want to miss, and will be one of your last chances to earn points for the Top Deck Championship Series. More than half the tickets are already gone, so make sure to sign up at the link in the description below to get your spot now. So we got plenty of events to choose from, and we even have, like, technically this is week 2 of Final Fantasy because there were the pre-release in the previous week. But we're going to be taking a look at some of the more recent stuff. We had in cEDH Pamplona. You have to forgive my lack of knowledge on every language. A lot of TNK, Kenrith, overall pretty good spread. Won by TNK, our top guard, Malcolm Vile, Najila and Kenrith, both commanders. A lot of the 5C stuff hasn't been doing that well. And here we had 2 5-color commanders in the top 4. A Esika list is pretty interesting. We might take a look at here. Also in the top 16. Another Kenrith. So a lot of 5-color stuff. Of course, lots of TNKs. You always expect that. And our top 16, we had an Urza. We had a Korvold. If I remember correctly, is pretty close to Eric's list, I think he was telling me about. I've been saying that Korvold in general has been popping off, but this might be an actual dedicated. No, this is actually okay. Yeah, this is an actual dedicated lands list. So we're kind of focusing on Chatterfang oriented combos with Chatterfang Warren Soul Trader, was Warren Soul Trader Stridehanger Automaton, where you make another artifact token, you get to sack it. You're doubling up on your tokens, you're getting free sack fodder that we get to do here. We do that with a Blood Artist effect, which we have a new one in Sephiroth. They're not on that here, but Zul Port Cutthroat you can also run. And we see another new card in Traveling Chocobo, which is 2 and a green. Look at the top card of your library anytime. Play lands and cast birds from the top. And then if a land or bird you control entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Says the word trigger quite a lot. I don't think we have any bird ETBs, but we do have landfall triggers, like with our Nissa, our Tavis Provision as well. So doubling our landfall triggers. We got the Loomer there. Very land-centric build with Ashaya in there. Oh no, that's not Ashaya. That's World Shaper, which has art that looks exactly like Ashaya from this secret lair. It's totally not confusing. Lance Korvold has been an archetype we've been seeing not really do well, but pop up in terms of popularity post-ban. It was obviously one of the decks that structurally took one of the biggest hits. Not even really a crazy high land count here, but definitely more lands oriented stuff than I could say as just a lands package. There's just, I would say, too much here to call it that. Once you go into Lumra, World Shaper, maybe leaning into, because it's not like 50 lands with, like, I don't think they're on Lake of the Dead, right? So not too great. We have the Crumbling Vestige, so we're getting pretty heavy into Lumra stuff. I got to finally play Lumra this past weekend too. I'm very excited to get to play more of that deck. We do have a lands Korvold here. Korvold is still doing the thing, and there have been other Korvold lists, especially at the more medium-sized events, that have been popping up. Kefka, this is probably the Final Fantasy deck I've had the most experience against. Is fairly similar to like a Tevesh Crom, I guess is the closest it feels to in terms of a Grixis, almost like a Tivit style thing of just this big commander who ETB and attack gets you advantage. Doesn't have the like 1 card A+B of like a Tivit, but it comes down a little bit cheaper. Does get you like immediate value in terms of cards, and the swing on card advantage is very big. ETB or attack, each player discards a card. You draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way, and then you can spend 8. Each opponent sacks a permanent, transform Kefka, and he flips into this big guy. Whenever opponent loses life during your turn, draw that many cards. So you immediately smack somebody for 5, draw 5. Pretty good little value engine. I need to play with and against it more. There's been a lot of experimenting with how like mid-range you get and how much you lean into Kefka's ability. So you see like this list runs Harmonic Prodigy to double our Kefka triggers, Dothy Voidwalker. We're going to be filling graveyards a little bit, and we've seen some of the Kefkas kind of run a hate bear-ish sort of package of cards like Dothy, Notion Thief, kind of keeping opponents off balance as like I said, Grixis control-y list. And we saw like Dothy and things like that weren't that uncommon in Tevesh Crom too. It doesn't hurt to really make it difficult for people to throw away like a big expensive spell with Dothy, which might be their prime target in a normal discard, but then you get it for free. And you know, it can be put some tension on your opponents. Other than that, we got stuff like Faithbreaker, which I think is a little awkward, to be honest, in a deck that isn't like a true farm style list. Your commander being 5 doesn't really line up to go Commander Faithbreaker, and you know, it doesn't have haste, so it's not really enabling much. So like I think it's okay, but we have like a decent amount of ETB stuff because we are likely to run things like Molten Dupes on half. We'll see what we're on here. Sakashima is a clone for our commander. No Molten Dupes here. We do just kind of have good stuff. Reanimate. Some of them are on bigger creatures like Hullbreaker Horror. Not seeing that here. This is mostly good stuff. Reanimate, which is fine because people will be discarding creatures. And then Beseech the Mirror, which is just a fantastic card. Instance, we have stuff like the Essence Flux to flicker our commander. Flood Maw, just bounce spell. Just really control-y stuff. We're not on the Ad Nauseum. We are on Born Upon a Wind, so we're probably on Necropotence. I mean, that's just a pretty good card to run anyways, right? We are on the Sawn half, so not leaning crazy into Kefka support. Really just from what we've seen, it's been Essence Flux, Sawn half, and then stuff like Kitten is, mostly, added in the list for that. The Harmonic Prodigy, Sakashima, which is just a clone anyways. So not devoting a ton of slots to it, which I do think is probably incorrect for your 5-mana commander. You don't want to get too crazy on winning more when you're already winning more, You're going to cast this thing and try to survive. Playing against it a lot. I have seen, the Swats and the Fierces, they don't feel at their best a lot of times, and you kind of need to have one already. Dump your hand to get an early Kefka. I think you want to look at this more like a Tivit, where because this doesn't buy you back mana the way Tivit does, it's harder to just like tap out for it. And so I think you need probably a little extra mana. You need to be at like 6 or 7 when you cast Kefka a lot of the time. If you don't already have like a handful of free interaction, just be able to hold up, there's Red Blasts, there's Flusterstorms, whatever. Or just having mana available when you have draw engines. Artifacts, we are a Breach combo deck, of course, running Grixis. We got a bunch of fast mana. We're on the Vexing Bauble, which I kind of like. Curse Totem as well. These are both kind of hateful, kind of annoying cards to deal with right now in the metagame. And then we are on the One Ring. We're a big mana deck, it's fine. Get your little card draw action. And then actually we're not on Necrobotance. We just ran Born for the heck of it. I was wrong. So Cabalrit, mostly there to get the Kefka, I guess. Another colorless stuff. I guess it's good with Beseech too. Near Yogg will. But no Necrobotance, just draw engines and then Mirror Maid to copy them. 27 lands. We're on the Saga, Spire, no Surveil, and we're on Mistrise Village. Quickly taking a look at this Esika. Esika has a couple different variants. This one is a little bit different too, where it is still a 5-color good stuff E deck. Not fully the way that some of the lists that I've covered have been of like 5-color good stuff turbo. This is leaning a little bit more into what Esika does. Maybe a lot bit more within a minute. But you still just have pretty good good cards in your 5-color pile. And then legends that Esika can get extra value out of. Cannon can be quite good here. Magda, Lotho. Valky has been a slot that kind of comes up every now and then. I've seen some of the Kefkas on that as well. This is a cool looking Ranger Captain Vios. And then 6, which is just a pretty good card. On a legend, give it Vigilance and can tap for mana. It's pretty nice. Zur the Enchanter, that's a legend. Give it a Vigilance, taps for mana, that helps. And then Niv Mizzet, Draco Genius. This one I'm not quite as sure on. I guess if you get infinite mana, it is an outlet. I'm thinking what we do is we Pimmons Aura, which I think I saw down here. That's most known for like comboing with Kennen. Not really at this point in cEDH. So like you tap infinite Kennen mana of all your colors, activate Kennen, you get to get Niv Mizzet as an outlet that you can just tutor up. It's also just like a fine thing, I guess, to put into play. Kind of an odd one. Then you can also have Zur go assemble that. It can go get your Underworld Breach, of course, a Necro, City of Salt. Like it actually has like a lot of flexibility. Hide the Mirror Maid, again, the Pimmons Aura. Because I think you decently want to prioritize the Kinnan. We're not on like Green Sun Zenith. We're not that deep on it, but it just layers really well with a lot of the legends on its own. And then also Esika, enabling all of them to be pretty good. So it's a little bit of a different take on a more legend focused Esika, but it's still on Nas, your intuition piles, all that good stuff. 5-color good stuff, splashing like 7 to 8 other odd cards that give you access to different ways that you can win. This list, or this event, the cEDH Dual Land Tourney, is missing a lot of deck lists. There's been a couple events that even though the lists were submitted, they're missing stuff. I'm not going to go into any of these lists, but stuff to point out from the weekend that did well. Again, this is like this is only like a 4-round thing, so take everything with a grain of salt. Rock Thras doing quite well. A lot of Rog decks in general doing well this past weekend. Have a Sisei here, Derevi, a couple Malcolm decks popping off as well. Actually, a good bit of them. 3 of them. Shout out to Pearson and the Juice. One of my, I guess now former locals. But yeah, not much to say on this one. Just kind of pointing out some of the decks that did all right. Look at the metagame, Take a look. There was a Terra. They didn't get there. It was a Noctis. We're going to get to talk about a Terra. No Noctis. We're going to get to talk about, unfortunately. So, Better Plays Gaming. We had a Terra that took down the event. Rog Thras, Kinnan, Teen came the top 4. We do have a Kess. They don't pop up very often, but every now and then. Arkham Dax, and we got like 2 of those this past weekend that topped. Another Rog Thras, some TNT, Tevesh, another Kefka, and then Tassi Tasigur. So some like decks that are always on the edge of fringe-ish, but like I'm never that crazy surprised to see. Like, well, okay, double Tasigur, I'm a little surprised to see. But the two Tasigurs like Arkham Dagson, Hess, they're never like unbelievable. Wow, you play that in cEDH decks, but they're just not that common, and we are seeing them pop up. All notably pretty good into slower games, mostly. Kess is just like a step behind those other ones, but has a little bit of resiliency that some of the other Grixis decks don't. Am going to point out one of these Rog Thrasses is literally just my deck list copied, and it's actually wrong. I'm pretty sure my list that I played this past weekend, I cut Trinket Mage and ran Wall of Roots, but my Mox Field was wrong. We top forward and split another silver event down in Atlanta this past weekend. No big tournament to report on, but deck ran great. I went undefeated for the day. It was a great event, but I was just happy to see somebody else running my list. Although again, I know I'm on Wall of Roots. I think the cut was Trinket Mage, and I moved on to some of the extra dorks. So this is like a slightly older version of my list. Use the link in the description below to download Whatnot, and you'll get $15 to use to buy Magic singles, sealed product, get anything that you want, really. There's no limits. You just get $15 on the account for free just for signing up. Use the link in the description below. Give Whatnot a try. But let's take a look at Terra, which I hyped up as maybe the best commander from Final Fantasy. Took down an event, whether it's the most powerful, certainly not as flashy as Vivi is. But Terra, ETB, mill 5 cards, put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. It has some text about flipping it over. This version of the list does not seem interested in doing that. We just have Terra as a turbo 5-color good stuff food chain deck that can just food chain to either Thorkel you or breach you. This one has... Again, this is all Japanese, so you have to trust me on what all these cards do, I guess. Here you could use Perforos as an outlet, where you squee, get infinite creature mana, you Terra, mill your entire library, get your Perforos, keep casting your squee, and kill the table. And then again, you can get access to your breach. You got mana lying around, do that. In the creatures, we just have 5-color good stuff. And then squee. That's it. Squee, Perforos that you're splashing for your food chain combo. The rest is just the best dorks in our colors. Esper Sentinel, Abolisher, Voice of Victor. We're not even on the Ranger Captain because we're trying to keep it lean and probably not do too many double white cards. We are kind of rule focused, and the combos that we're adding, and it just in general, it helps your mana. In playing Terra, I found that I often just try to play her turn 1 or turn 2, mill some cards over, and then do a protected breach behind Fierce Guardianship. You also can potentially, mill her over, find a Ristic Study, Smothering Tithe. That's a little bit more random hoping, the 5.4933% of the time that you get one of those enchantments. But she's also just there. It's just a piece of cardboard you can cast and you fill your graveyard. You're a combo deck that uses Underworld Breach. Yeah, just Spirit Guides, Flood Caller. Our sorceries are Tutors, Savine's Wreck, a single wheel, Red Flame is a ritual, and then Culling Ritual. Instance, we've got our Pact. We are on an offer, which you do like in, I think it comes up more in these kind of decks than it does the lower color Grixis decks to just mana fix. 5-color decks, you got to work a little bit for it. I've seen people ask, why do decks like this run crop rotation, which crop rotation is just pretty decent anyways. And then things like Manamorphose. Kind of a main thing that these cards get to do is enable your post Necropotence to help guarantee instant speed win. With Manamorphose, if you have a red or green pip, it means that you get to hold up either Necro very deep for Born Upon a Wind or for Final Fortune, no matter which colors you need. You don't have to have access to 2 rainbow pips. Just Manamorphose will get you to either one, which can be quite nice. And then again, just in a 5-color deck, sometimes the fixing is just fine. We're on the Veil, Brain Freeze, we're on Gifts as well as Intuition. Fast mana, 2 5-color signets, Wish Claw, Know the One Ring. Enchantments, we do have a higher than normal enchantment count. Gives you more upside with Terra. I think the lists that are going like really heavy on enchantments, like 10 to 15, they're probably overcooking, probably about what I want, because these are ones that are just runnable anyways. And then Food Chain is a combo card, but just Carpet as mana is fine. Fish, Seal Enchantment, all these cards are just fine. Smothering Tithe, Necropotence, these are just good cEDH cards. And then your Carpet is a card you maybe wouldn't run in just any 5-color deck, but you're prioritizing early green anyways, and it just sometimes it's just going to get you an extra card off your commander. That's just fine. 26 lands. The Emergent Zone is also what the Crop Rod is here for, beyond just random fixing or slight ramp with Ancient Tomb, City of Traders. Just gives yourself way more outs. If you have access to Taiga, colorless mana, that means you can Necro Deep and you can hit Manamorphose into one of those other 2 cards, or you could hit Crop Rod for Emergent Zone to be able to instep, win the game, or take an extra turn. Just gives you lots of extra options, but decks like Esika do as well. And then just 5-color mana base, Forbidden Orchard. Leans fast, leans proactive, kill him with Food Chain, or just breach Thassa's Oracle. You just run the best cards, and then a little bit of splash to help your commander, close out the game in the way that's unique to it. Then we got ourselves a 79-player event taken down by a Rog Thras. We got a Ral Monsoon Mage, a Y'shtola in the top 4, as well as a Sisay. We got our first Vivi. that we've spotted. Another Rog Thras, Nagila, bunch of TNKs, another Ral in the top pod, and then or top 16 rather, and then Dahada. Let's take our first look at a Vivi. So if you don't know, Vivi is for one and is it you can spend 0 mana, add X mana in any combination of blue and or red, where X is Vivi's power, activate only during your turn, only once each turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So you probably already know this, but you get your Vivi down, you start casting some spells, your Get Probes, your Rocks, your Brainstorms, whatever it is. Vivi gets big, activate Vivi, make some mana, cast more stuff, and get to go crazy. It's just a great mana battery, kind of similar to a Burgi, except where Vivi doesn't always immediately give you the mana. It is only 1 activation per turn. Vivi also stockpiles the mana. So if you get to take 1 turn with Vivi and it gets to 3, maybe Burgi would have made you 1 extra mana, although you wouldn't have got blue, on an extra spell you cast after activating Vivi. Vivi gets to keep that mana for next turn. Renewable resource that just keeps giving you mana. And we're going to run effects that buff Vivi, as well as probably most powerfully are Curiosity style effects that care about dealing damage, kind of similar to like a Niv Mizzet, where Vivi doesn't just instant win the game with the Curiosity effect. It doesn't loop on its own. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you'll deal 1 damage to each of your opponents and you'll draw 3 cards. It does not take a lot from a commander who, when you cast a spell, draws 3 cards and makes mana to win the game. You will just chain into it, and we run a bunch of other effects to take advantage of it. Our creature package is very small. We care most about non-creature spells. Got some selection and mana. Generically good cards. Tandem Lookout is a Curiosity effect, one of the strongest things in this deck. Quicksilver Elemental is now famous for its infinite combo with Vivi, where you can spend a blue and it will gain the activated abilities of Vivi. So it'll gain that, add mana. You'll activate it and it will add 3 mana. And then you can spend the blue again to target Vivi again, and it'll get a new instance of that ability. So you'll be able to activate it to kind of get around the once per turn because you haven't activated that one yet. It's a different activated ability. And you're able to net infinite mana. Doesn't win the game on its own, but from there you have infinite blue and red mana and cast whatever you need to potentially just win the game. Niv Mizzet, no maximum hand size. When a source you control does non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. So Vivi it's basically another Curiosity effect. And then Hullbreaker Horror you can use as an ally with Vivi. Once you get to go infinite mana, you also just bouncing your rocks over and over, ping everybody down with Vivi and win. Sorceries, we got rituals, few tutors we have like in your gambles, and just cheap spells. And then some stuff that's going to work well with our Vivi, like Wild Ride, which is 1 red, give Vivi +3/+0. So Vivi will make us 3 extra mana, plus this triggered it. So just casting this, Vivi goes immediately to 4 power. Pretty good. And then you also get to immediately tap Vivi down because Vivi's at 4 power and do this again for single red. So really for 2 red, you get your Vivi up to 8 power, which is pretty freaking big. Similar harmonized stuff like Zenith Festival is going to get access to cards. J Wills. Savor the Moment was kind of a Nadu card. Take an extra turn after this one. Skip the untap step. If your Vivi's like an 8, it's going to make you way more mana than your lands and rock for anyways. Plus what, it can get much bigger than that. Then your wheel effects, MDFCs, good is it cards, and then stuff like Dizzy Spell, which is a transmute effect, which you can go get us Curiosity. Magic Damper looks like a protection spell for our Vivi. Got Floodmaw were we on Flood Caller? I don't think we were. Not on Flood Caller, just running Floodmaw. Brain Freeze for your Breach deck. We got the Daze to help protect it. Final Fortune. Pretty much any free spell, you can possibly jam into the deck because that's what we love to do. They all make us mana. Fast Mana, Conqueror's Flail is a defense grid style effect that has less downside. Incidentally buffs our Vivi. We're on the Run Ring. Enchantments are other Curiosity effects. Curiosity and Ophidian Eye, as well as Breach. Virtue of Courage. Courage? It's just a 2 mana instant, that's fine, but then also when a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, exile that many cards from the top of your library, you may play them. So it basically doubles the amount of cards that Vivi gets you. And then we're on 28 lands, a Surveil lands, we're on Emergent Zone, just some okay utility stuff, and then just a Is It mana base. Next up, we got Y'shtola. She is an Esper cat girl. 4 mana, 2/4 vigilance. At the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, she deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. Notably, she honestly arguably breaks the color pie by just dealing direct damage, which I guess Black gets to do occasionally, but they just clearly made it do this just to have her be good with Curiosity effects to just sell more of this $400 card. But yeah, so she's another commander that you can put a Curiosity effect on, and then when you cast non-creature spells, they cost 3 or more, you'll get to draw a card. Again, you'll hit each opponent, so you get to draw 3 cards. And then at the beginning of your end step, she works as like an okay-ish engine. She can draw you an extra card each turn. She's basically just another Esper option that has some, other high upside cards you can combine it with. We got a Bowmaster, Spell Scouter Predictor, pretty heavy on the creatures. Campbell, so Rug of Smothering, looking to ensure that our Y'shtola triggers. It is each end step, so it can have, someone else cast 2 spells. Y'shtola can draw you a card, and it can do multiple turn cycle. If you run things like Rug of Smothering and Campbell, you're more likely to do that. This is looking like a pretty hate bear-ish list. There's no Dothy, but we've got Oppo, Aven Mind Sensor, the Sheoldred, which we haven't seen too much of lately. I guess it's not really that heavy on it. Sarah sent it to smack some people. Tandem Lookout, again, we're another Curiosity kind of focus deck. Hullbreaker Horror, which we can use to potentially kill everybody. Talion is a decent engine. I've heard kind of this deck compared to Talion and more like an Esper version of this list. Board Wipe, Mean Bet. Instance, we got the Consult, Fluster, Offer. So some higher 3 or more ones that aren't really 3 or more. Snuff Out, Force, Misdirection, Deadly Rollick, Frantic Search. We have a decent amount, dismember. Not going crazy on it, but a decent amount of things that can trigger her. And then for rocks, we have Basalt Monolith as well as the One Ring. Does Basalt do us anything? It's a free 3, I guess. Surely it's not just for that. Is there some other thing I'm missing? I'm not really sure about the Basalt other than being a 3 that you can just develop. Use for mana the next turn. Like, Basalt's just not a terrible card, but it seems like an odd pick here. Other Curiosity effects. Sigil of Sleep, which I think I've seen in some Vivis too, which is when it deals damage to a player, return target creature that player controls to its hand. So this can be really, really hard to get around for any creature-focused deck that just can never develop anything. Blood Chief Ascension, I mentioned, it's just can be a win con later game situation, and then also just get your commander triggering. We got the Necro, Ristic, Smelting Tithe, and then 26 lands. Urza Saga's here, Mistrise Village, Basic Swamp. Don't see any Surveils. Not really going to go deep over a Ral deck, but just going to point out, again, this commander is popping off so freaking hard. I was going to play it this past weekend and ended up not having all my cards with me, which really was a bummer. But that, like I said, that event went really well for me anyways. But this commander is just crack. I'm pretty sure this thing is just better than Vivi. It's at least different. It at least is just like a super proactively slanting deck. Some of them don't even run Ristic Study. Spread more Ral propaganda. I just think this deck is insane. You should really respect it if you have it in your pods. And if you haven't tried it, it's one of the fastest decks in the format. It's just really, really cool. And it's starting to have like one of, if not the highest conversion rate in the format. I think this event right here which is like the smallest one we're looking at, but had the most Rog-pilled thing I've seen here with Rogside winning the event. 2 Rog Thrases also in the top 4. Another Rog Thras here. One just not making the cut. Not sure what was here, but just absolute tons of Rogs. We have a TNK there, a Kefka, Saka, another Plagon, which we haven't seen much of lately. It's been on a really big downtick. Plagon has not been performing well. It really never did, other than, I guess, consistently. It just kind of spiked some early stuff. I don't think it ever had a great performance. It's been a deck I've respected and talked about. And then we got a Winota. The first Winotas we've seen in quite a while. Marath. Cool stuff. These have also, interestingly, been like the last few times I've done these type of videos, been commanders that pop up of the Winotas and Marath or Marith, whatever it is. And then we got a Niv Mizzet. You got to be a true believer to be rocking Niv Mizzet right now. That's just based. This level 7 event, you can take a look at it. Clearly, they didn't really care about submitting lists. I think this is a smaller event and just happened to have a bunch of people in town for the Mortal Kombat event. So most of these, you could find the list that they played at Mortal Kombat. They probably played the same thing. This is basically just kind of useless for information for looking at data. I just wanted to point out that this was an event that happened. Then Mortal Kombat. I watched a little bit of this one. There's a couple decks missing. I got them. I don't know why they're not on EH Top 16, but I have the list. We'll go over 1 or 2 of those. One by a TNT. The top 4 was another Rog Thras, Erinis Street Urchin by the GOAT Colin, and then Pigeon running Atali instead of the Rog Thras that he's been known for here lately. So double Gruul pod. Really cool to see. Atali's an awesome deck. Erinis Street Urchin I was a huge fan of. It just basically fell off the map post-ban. Colin was saying he's probably still going to be playing it a lot. We'll probably take a look at that one. Kevin was playing... Let's take a look. I got my little secret list. Kevin here in 5th place was on Chatterfang. Then we got some more Rog Thrases. Don't pay attention, tag there. A lot of teamer. We had Xyrus, double Rog Thras. Jonathan Vixilus is very different. It's more like a turbo Rog Thras sort of list is how he describes it. And then these other 2 lists were a TNK and then another Arkham Dagsim. Then we got a Yoshi Thras, Malcolm Vile, and then a Kydele Tevesh. That is a combination I definitely have never taken a look at. Take a look at that. Kydele and Tevesh. No description. You gotta figure it out yourself. Kydele, if you're not familiar, a partner. 2 blue-green, green-blue rather. Tap, add colors to your mana pool for each card you've drawn this turn. So if you Tevesh, plus it, sack a creature, draw 2, your other commander here will tap for 3 because you drew for turn, and then you drew 2 other cards. Kydele can be part of infinite mana combos with like Staff of Domination style effects. Probably some other infinite shenanigans. Can just be an okay value engine. Can tap it for mana and then sack it to Tevesh and draw 3 cards. We got Narset. We got Thrasios in the 99, let's go, or 98 rather. We're on Devoted Druid Hazel stuff. Just looks kind of like Sultai stuff in general. No Gilded Drake, we're on the Volatile Storm Drake. Get rid of those symmetrical hate pieces. Fairy Mastermind, which is popular right now. Bowmasters, we are on the Endurance, During Vitality, High Fate Trickster, and Notion Thief. A little bit of a little theme there with the Narset, Notion Thief, and then Bowmasters, which is just a staple. And then we're doing Hordig Broodlord stuff. We'll see if we're doing Saw in Half, Sacrifice, all that good stuff. Pretty standard Sultai creature package. The Thrasios on its own is pretty funny. The running Devoted Druid Hazels, we actually don't have the Thrasios there. We have to go get him too if we want to. So really curious about that one. And I guess, again, probably wouldn't have to make many swaps. Maybe none. And you could just say, I like this list, but I want to run Thras in the zone. You'd probably be fine. We'll see. I'm sure there's some exclusive stuff here that doesn't work. We're on Doomsday. Okay, that's pretty sick. Tevesh is really good at cracking a Doomsday pile. Thrasios would have been okay at it. So Imp Seal, Reanimate. We have the 2 Finale effects. Twister and Windfall. Both are going to be great. Of course, with Kydele, should make a ton of mana. Dread Return. You would usually see this with Hermit. Could just be an okay thing. We might be on a Tomb also. And then Purity of the Abyss. Kydele makes it cost potentially just 3 black, which could be really cool. And then if you do Purity of the Abyss with Kydele in play, you're just made 50-ish mana. Instance, we got Pact. Brainstorm's gonna be quite good with our commander. Culling, Dark Writ, Demonic Consultation. We do have the Entomb. We do have the Sacrifice as well. We got the Saw in Half. Other notable cards, we got the Psych Rift, Force to No, Ad Nauseum. Frantic Search is gonna be pretty good with Kydele as well. Cord, pretty normal stuff up here. Staff of Domination we do have, so we can use this to untap Kydele, make the mana, spend the mana to untap Staff, get infinite mana that way, and then start using Staff to draw our deck. Gold Clamp, just pretty common in Tevesh lists. And then just fast mana and One Ring. No Wishclaw Talisman. Enchantments, Mystic Ristic, Survival, Sylvan, and then Amphibian Downpour. Another card that's starting to pop up in popularity. 29 lands, including Cephalid Coliseum. Okay. Shifting Woodland, Cradle, couple basics, Saga, and then a 3-color mana base. So yeah, kind of an interesting one. Our normal, so we got a Doomsday pile that we can, I guess, crack with Tevesh. That's kind of a lot of setup compared to like a Timna. But I guess it's kind of similar to like a Rafine, right? I mean, that thing has 3 pips. It's pretty close to just 4 and a black. Might be just pretty good at setting that up anyways. Yeah, pretty interesting take on Sultai. I kind of like it. I think it gets to do it a little bit different. You can set up Kydele and it helps you set up your Tevesh. It makes it a little bit easier for the next turn, especially if you're drawing a little bit. And then when Tevesh comes down, it enables Kydele to be good. So I like the synergy there. I'm curious how this plays versus just a traditional Thrasios list. Next up, we're taking a look at Kevin's Chatterfang. You know Chatterfang we talked about earlier in Korvold. One or more tokens we created under your control. That many tokens plus that many squirrels, and then you can spend a black, sacrifice X squirrels, start creature gets plus X minus X. So we just have access to an infinite mana combo enabler in Chatterfang with Warren Soul Trader being the main way we go about it. And we're probably going to run lots of redundant ways to use that to drain the table. Disciple of the Vault, Academy Manufacturer lets you think the way you want to do it is you let Academy Manufacturer apply as the one replacement effect you choose for a token creator. So you would make a token, you apply Academy Manufacturer to it, Academy Manufactor. Then on it, the replacement of, then you can apply Chatterfang to the replacement effect of each of those, but you can't just go infinite with that because you can't apply more than one replacement effect to the same thing. So you can't do replace the treasure with the Chatterfang, replace the squirrel. You see what I mean? You can't just infinitely scale them. But you're gonna get a bunch of squirrels. Activated Sleeper, are we doing Protean Hulk stuff? We are. We're doing Hulk piles. That can just get you like Dosen, Warren Soul Trader, and there you go. Or you could get Dosen, like you probably have a sack outlet already, and then you can get Dosen and the Sleeper, and then that gets you another Protean Hulk pile, and then you can get a Blood Artist effect and whatever. You really just get to assemble what you need. Having one half of a combo already in the zone is pretty nice. It is also lets you sacrifice Squirrel. It's not really a sack outlet for most of what we got. But yeah, got some Mana Dorks. Dark Confidant here. We are in only 2 colors, and they're pretty limited ones. We got cards like Springheart and Tuco, which are great token generators. Braze is going to let us get some value out of ours. Fiend Artisan is great at assembling these creature-based combos. Toski is going to help us draw cards and turn our squirrels into a value engine. It's also a squirrel itself. Pitiless Plunderer, also known for these kind of combos. Creature dies, you make a treasure, sack the creature, make a treasure, and a squirrel. sack that, rinse and repeat, go infinite. There's just tons of different ways to do these overlapping squirrel, treasure, whatever combos. Good Golgari cards, Beseech, Demonic Tutor, Reanimate, Calling Ritual cards we've been going over all today. We're on the Summoner's Pact, Crop Rot, Royal Treatment. Target creature you control gains Hexproof till end of turn. Create a roll token attached to that, which gives it Ward 1. Works as a protection spell. Same thing with Quick Reflexes, the Veil of Summer. We've got Savage Summoning, which can't be countered, gives a creature flash, and can't be countered. Cool green creature decks. We have the Assassin's Trophy, Force of Vigor, Calling Ritual, Port of Calling, Saw, Deadly Relic. Saw and Half also works with our Chatterfang. We get extra squirrels too. No ad nauseum. Artifacts, we got 12, Fast Mana, Conqueror's Flail, Skull Clamp to sack all those squirrels. No other artifact, like Phyrexian Altar type effect to sacrifice our stuff. Bobble, another card to lock people out in the One Ring. Enchantments, we got the Earthcraft, which is probably phenomenal in this deck. Meat Hook Massacre, good way to take control of the board. It's also a Blood Artist effect. And then Pattern of Rebirth, which you sack one of your squirrel, you put it on a squirrel token, for instance, sack a squirrel, go get Protean Hulk, boop. You guys are done. 27 lands. We got the E-Zone, Dryad Arbor, Cradle, of course, gonna be bonkers here. We got Urborg. Sick Golgari stuff. I love seeing a deck like this pop off at an event like that. It's so cool. Kind of like similar to like the Yawgmoth decks that we've seen, but you get access to another color. So I think if you like that kind of strategy, this might be a deck for you. Big fan of creature combo stuff. I just think this deck has some legs, you know. You're giving up blue, but blue didn't really do all that great, you know, at an event like this. The top 4 was double Gruul. Mine is anecdotal, but our top 4 was, I was the only blue deck. Like, we've seen Mardu taking stuff down. You know, maybe we don't need blue. Maybe we don't need blue. We just need squirrels. We are going to talk about teamer problems. I don't think I covered this one because it popped up in an event recently too. And this is a list, of course, I've been very familiar with for a while, but this is a different approach to Thras. We've got a Saheeli here, token generator. This is a red list. This is not pure Simic. It's not even just Simic, Splashing Breach, and Gamble. It is definitely a red list. Got a Ragavan, Charming Scoundrel, which you can use as an outlet because you can make infinite Wicked Roll tokens. It's a reasonable card. Of course, we got the Breeze Caller, Cloud of Fairies. Lots of normal staples, right? Springheart, Nantuko, Bambi, Spellseeker, Kitten. Although that one's been cut a little bit. But other cards like Bergi, Dosen, which is a little bit more all-in than most of the lists are right now. Geralf the Fleshright. I don't remember if I've talked about this one, but this is a really powerful token enabler. Whenever you cast a spell during your turn, other than the first spell, you make a 2/2 zombie, and when a zombie enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it for each zombie. So basically, my second spell, I make a 2/2, my third spell, I make a 3/3, so on and so forth. Every spell you cast makes you a creature, after the first one at least. So it is, compared to like Saheeli, which only cares about non-creature spells, one of the most consistent token enablers and can be one of the most powerful ones. And also lets you have a very real beats plan because you cast 3 spells in a turn and you get a 3/3 and a 2/2. Any more, like that's already 5 power on the board. Getting any bigger than that, you know, cast 4 or 5 spells a turn, you are really beating people down with those zombies. Vivi, expect to see this card in the 98, 99 of a lot of decks, especially if they're more stormy. It's already very similar to Bergi in this deck list. Being, you know, getting access to those blue pips also quite powerful. Vivi you can also just use as a damage outlet. Like there's other text on some of these other cards, but technically if you just want to run Vivi, that could just be, you know, your 1 or maybe 2 damage outlets that you run. We got Lily Splash Mentor, which can combo with Cloud of Fairies by flickering it infinitely with Cradle or otherwise, you know, lands that make more than 3 mana. And then Peregrine Drake, which can do the same deal. I ran Peregrine Drake for a little bit. I think it's pretty awesome card, but yeah, it's 5 mana, ETB, untap 5 lands. It's like a really big Cloud of Fairies. And Seaborn Muse, obviously a banger in this list. And then we got more stormy stuff like Jessica's Will. We're on the double wheels, Hidden Strings, which I've talked about in this list being quite good. Chatterstorm, decently popular option. Empty the Warrens, very similar to Chatterstorm. Double the mana, but you get double the guys. 2 ret 1/1 goblins, which I do really like. Empty, I don't think it's just a Chatterstorm at home or one or the other. Is like Chatterstorm is much cheaper, so it's easier to go turn 1, Rog, Rock, Chatterstorm, just make a couple guys, or, you know, maybe fit another card. Empty the Warrens is really nice where the mana part doesn't matter. It's just you don't have a lot of spells to cast. Because you could have like Chatterstorm with 2 mana left up, not really a spell to fit in. Empty the Warrens can just be like cast 3 spells, and then you get, you know, double the amount. You get 6 guys, even when you don't care about the mana, and then you tap the Cradle. I think if you like one, you might like the other, you know, just the red pip for empty for the Simic focus list. And right now I'm not currently on either, but I think either are good options. Instants, we're a lot slimmer on them, right? You know, Thras already doesn't run too many pieces of interaction. Here we're on, for counter spells, just Fluster, Swat, Fierce, Force of Will, MBT. No Flare of Dupe, Flare of Denial. We don't have things like Veil of Summer even. Just very slim, just casting spells. Just backing up your win attempts with more win attempts, really. We got the Gifts Ungiven here. Dramatic Reversal, be pretty powerful in the list. We have Vexing Bauble as a protective piece. Fast mana, Candelabra. No One Ring, which isn't popular all that popular right now anyways. Expedition map. Higher enchantment count for sure. Carpet. Training grounds. I don't think we're on familiar. These cards are just amazing. Training grounds has just been nuts. You got the sprawl and wild growth. Even just on like the Peregrine Drake and then the Lily Splash gives us a little bit more of a focus on untapping our lands and caring about getting even one extra mana out of that. We're on the Guild Artisan, which is commander creatures you own have whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, you may create 2 treasure tokens. Swing in with Rog, he's got Menace, get 2 treasures. Make sure you're hitting the player with the most life, or the opponent rather. And we're on Breach and Song Creation. 26 lands, we got Alchemist Refuge as a way to keep refiring a Emergent Zone type effect. And then we're leaning a little bit more into lands we want to untap with things like Nykthos, which you might be familiar with in Casual Commander, and 3-Tree City, which is a very similar deal. Lines up really well with your Chatterstorms and your Empty the Warrens, as well as the Urza Saga here. So, Rog Thras, I mentioned being a list that has a lot of different options, and you can see this is a very different version than what you might be used to seeing. There's lots of different experimenting you can do, and there's the Biomancer's Familiar I totally glanced over, and I said that it wasn't here, and it definitely was. I'm also just used to seeing more 1-drops. Here we just have the 2, Tinderwall and Ragavan. Very different kind of Rog Thras you can try out. It's a really cool list. Here we got Erinis Street Urchin, a deck I've covered quite a bit, but not really post-spam. So our commander, Erinis, is 3 mana, 2 and a green, Death Touch. When Erinis attacks, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And Street Urchin is 1 in a red. Commander creatures you own have 1, sacrifice another creature or an artifact. This creature deals 1 damage to any target. This gives us access to a outlet if we get infinite material and mana. Obviously, before we would get to do that with Dockside Extortionist. Now we gotta do it a little bit differently. It also gives us really good board control because the background gives that ability to Erinis, who has Death Touch. So this ping kills any creature it hits. Creatures, we got a lot of them, 37. This deck is kind of known for being a Goblin Recruiter, Conspicuous Snoop pile deck, where we cast Goblin Recruiter and we make a pile of creatures with our Conspicuous Snoop, where we can do things like Torch Courier, cast it off the top with Snoop, give Conspicuous Snoop haste, have him be a Kiki Jiki, because Kiki Jiki's the next card. Tap, make a copy of himself, tap, make a copy of himself, go infinite, and then you can tap on the last one and copy the Goblin Recruiter to put any sort of outlet on the top. It could be Mog Mob or whatever you really need. It's actually quite a flexible combo. You could get Skirk Prospector at the end to get infinite mana to pump into the Erinis to sacrifice half of your infinite guys to deal half of your infinite damage. And then we got just flexible, like other Goro is another way to give haste. As a goblin, we've got ways to make mana, Mags for the Candelabra, Orcish Lumberjack, Sylvan Savior for protection. We got Spring Heart into go our Hermit Druid deck as well. I just really like this deck. We have normal Kiki Jiki combos with Hyrax Tower Scout, token enabling stuff like Arasta of the Endless Web rather, Druid of Purification to help control the board. I love this deck list. He was saying that the MVP of the event was Zerzoth, Chaos Raider, which is 2 in a red. Whenever an opponent draws their first card each turn, if it's not their turn, you create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. This card has so much text. And whenever one or more devils you control attack one or more players, you and those players each draw a card, then discard a card at random. Everybody draws 1, discards 1, but you're gonna make a bunch of guys whenever people are making stuff. And then when those guys die, they start pinging the board, and you have a way to sacrifice those guys and kill anything. Like, you're just gonna have tons of control over the board. I'm proxying this deck. I've been playing it immediately. I always wanted to play it anyways, and now I'm just especially excited for it. Mags of the Order is a natural order. Like, I could go on forever about the token enabling and the overlapping combos and how much creature shenanigans you get to get up to. Sorceries, we've got tutors, getting lands, creatures, anything with gamble, Malevolent Rumble, which I've talked about a bunch, gives you lots of card selection, or decent amount of card selection at a very cheap rate. Instants, not too many. Summoner's Pack, cards like Quick Reflexes, not even on the Veil of Summer, but we're on the Double Red Blast, Final Fortune. Peerless Recycling is one I've talked about a little bit before. 1 in a green. You can gift a card. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If the gift was promised, instead return 2 of those. So this could be 2 mana, get 2 permanents back from your graveyard. Again, we're like a Hermit Druid deck, so we can symbol a combo potentially. I'm not sure the normal Hermit Druid lines. You got the Realms Uncharted as well to get some extra lands. And then again, seems like niche text, but Realms Uncharted, for instance, we get 4 lands, they give us 2 that are whatever, and then, they put Cradle and something else into the graveyard, and then we get to attack with Erinis and put the Cradle into play. It comes in untapped. Turn target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Boop, it's there. Artifacts, some fast mana, Lightning Greaves to protect our stuff, Bauble, Map, Wild Growth, Pattern of Rebirth. It just lets us assemble whatever. It could be Goblin Recruiter to our full combo line. It could be Kiki because we got half of it. It could be Druid of Purification, whatever. And then we're also a Protean Hulk deck. to assemble those combos, right? So we can get Protean Hulk, sack it because our commander is a sack outlet, and then we could get whatever. It could be Goblin Recruiter and Dosen. Boop, bop, bam. 28 lands. We got Commercial District, City of Traders, Sky Reach Sanitarium, Last Step Quarry, which lets you like sack your Protean Hulk or refire it. Talon Gates, there's his cave, tutoring for lots of lands. We've got some utility lands like Gaia Reach Sanitarium, which can kill some players trying to Thoracle. Handwear Battlements is cool. Giving target creature haste enabler. Same with Arena of Glory. Just an awesome deck. Really happy to see it. Top 4, a very large event post-ban. I'm going to cut it there. Check out decks like the Atali. Bad Dog has been on a huge streak with Kalia right now. Rowan also did well. Like, there's tons of lists I could be going over. There's stuff that you wish I did, want to hear more about. Let me know down below. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I can, but let me know down below which of these deck lists was your favorite, what you're going to be playing, what you're thinking about the metagame post Final Fantasy, all that stuff that you're excited about. And as always, go play cEDH. Have a good one, everybody.